Welcome everyone to episode 24 of the Worlds Don't Keep. We're throwing out our usual game plan in an effort to cover the hydrogen bomb of news we got, biggest of which is the new follower system. Also some interesting tidbits about the visuals we've seen from the video and new screenshots following the follower system release/leak, the likes of which will be streaming during the episode, which you should be able to see now. So enjoy. I'm your host Joe, and with me on the show, per usual, Jordan, Ken, and Dan, each with their various traits. See what I did there? The likes of which you should know by now. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello, gentlemen.
What
Traits.
There's everybody. All right, let's jump into some news. Skip everything else. Skip lore. That'll be in episode 26 since the next show is going to be live, and the details to come at a later date. So check Facebook or the blog and possibly the forums. But yeah, Ken, what's the hot item this week?
Well, should we just jump right into the followers?
Yes, let's do it.
Alright, so, announced followers. These are your mercenaries that were in Diablo 2, and there's 3 of them this time. And the Enchantress, the Scoundrel, and the Templar. Each have their own skills that are unlocked. Each have armor that you can equip. I believe it's armor, 2 rings, amulet, and left and right weapon. And each will act differently, and apparently each have a character that's like a character, like an actual, they're a person, not this mute thing that just follows you around.
Meat zombie.
Yeah, this meat zombie that pokes the nearest thing closest to you.
So I found the names here. Elrina is the Enchantress, Lyndon is the Scoundrel, and Cormac is the Templar.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah, they actually have names. How about that?
Something cool to note about these guys is you pick them up during quests, right? You have a quest for each one to acquire them.
That's right, and you can't avoid them in that respect because they're actually part of the main linear story, so you will encounter them. It's, even if you're playing multiplayer, it's a given.
Mm-hmm.
And this was something that we knew a little bit about, that they were going to do this. Like, we saw it in one of the, it was in the Demon Hunter video where you come across the one guy and he's like, dang it, I watched that so many times and I can't remember what his little thing is, so-and-so is a scoundrel and we're going to go, so you're running around with that NPC for a bit and you've got to escort him to, so we already knew they were going to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is sort of an interesting thing on it, is some of those people you'll encounter and do that with will become semi-permanent traveling companions.
That's right.
Dargon, that traitorous cur.
That's it. Traitorous cur.
Nice.
That's right. It was pretty epic.
It was a fun little quest. You had some big bodyguards. Anyways, so, some of the skills are pretty neat.
Yeah, each one has a total of 12, right?
3 times 4. So, 3 are unlocked at level 5, 10, 15, and 20. And respecking them is possible and fairly easy, I believe, from what Ajik was saying. And so is reviving them. I believe he said reviving was actually free.
Yeah,
well,
and they do it on their own. They don't really die, per se. They just kind of...
Oh, are they knocked out for 60 seconds?
Yeah,
and then just
something like that.
Up?
Yeah.
They didn't give a time frame, but they just go unconscious. You can leave them behind wherever they fall, and they'll get back up eventually.
They'll find you.
It also said that you could actually help them back up, but it depends on the situation. If whatever just knocked them out is still standing there, that might not be the best of plans.
Who has time for that?
Siege breaker.
Busy killing stuff. Get out of here. Help yourself up. Peasant.
Good times, good times.
No, but these guys actually look pretty cool. We actually got a question from CP Slow student, and he asks, let me bring it up. Which followers are you most drawn to initially, and why?
Well, because I'm going to be a wizard first, the Templar is always something odd looking at.
Right.
Like the idea of him tanking all of those guys in that one video shot was kind of nice. It's kind of nice. It's always nice to have something tanking for you, although it does kind of take some of the fun out of the strategy of a wizard.
That's true, and that's I think what a lot of people had problems with is when they announced it, is that it kind of makes it easy mode, I guess, or gives you, I don't know, an advantage over someone who would rather play solo without a little meat puppet to follow him around.
Yeah, and which kind of leaned me a little bit towards having the Enchantress rolling around with my wizard, and
Mhm.
then maybe at certain points in time they kind of make out a little bit.
Nice.
Just kind of go behind a tree and
Yeah, it's, let's just calm down. Let's put up a little shield
Wow,
here.
wow.
Just see what happens. No
just
pressure.
just put your head on her shoulder and hug her a little bit closer.
Oh,
Just a little
hey,
bit closer. Now, brush her hair.
So, but yeah, no, actually, like looking at the skill choices they have, a wizard and enchantress might actually be pretty cool.
Well, when I first looked at it, there were always two things that pop out at me when I'm looking at those. Number one, I'm going, okay, the scoundrel has some kind of gold skill. That sounds awesome. I'm greedy as hell in video games. I want as much gold as possible as quickly. And then the other, of course, is I want to monk. I want to blow things up really fast. I was like, the enchantress can actually amplify damage. That looks awesome. I would love to just go around and he's amped, boom, make him explode.
hmm
So yeah, that's kind of where I was at when I was looking at it.
I've been thinking Enchantress because I'm still planning on going for Monk for first one. So it seems like the Enchantress would complement the Monk very well. But I don't know. I think what'll realistically end up happening is that I'll just end up jumping back and forth between all three.
Right.
Particularly later in, once I've got all three of them unlocked, rotate between them until I find one that just really fits my playstyle well.
Right.
Now I'll tell you what's most interesting about them to me. We all have seen the posts and all that about how they won't really be in multiplayer because if there are multiple people on the screen, there are multiple mercs, as it were, the followers on the screen. It would get cluttered and you'd have
Right.
all these different issues.
It's
Well,
just chaos.
what we do know is that they also serve a completely different function that they never did before. They actually progress the story along. They're part of the main linear story, and they have all these things that they're going to say throughout the entire story. So it actually makes you want to stick with an entire playthrough, so that you can learn all about them. They all have side stories, they all have quest lines, specific items, and they kind of give you more flavor to the game that, you know, with an action
Oh,
RPG is hard to tell in a way that's not boring.
yeah,
It
it
makes me.
actually
It makes me
want to.
kind. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, it actually makes me want to play single player.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was gonna bring up.
Mhm.
Because I wanna get to know these guys and their lore and the backstory and how they fit into the game and everything. So I don't know. That's one thing that I'm kind of torn between. Is I'm gonna want to play single player so I can check these guys out and fight alongside them. But the majority of the time I'm gonna want to be fighting with actual people. Makes me wonder if you'll actually be able to experience that in a multiplayer party. I mean, obviously you won't be able to fight alongside them if you have other people in the game because they just hang out in town. But I wonder if you could still like do their quest line as a party and whatnot. Something to note. As for which one I'm leaning towards, which one I want to play with, per every kind of question I have like this, I have no idea, and I'll figure it out on the day when I choose my character and all that good stuff.
Well, just to kind of extrapolate from the information that we already have, Ken, when you were playing through the actual demos and whatnot, you had that quest we were joking about earlier with the guy bashing Dargon and all that.
Mhm.
He followed you around and he did all that. Well, that's actually how you encounter the followers in the game, from what they've said. So
Oh,
it makes sense that you would actually be able to run alongside them in multiplayer games for the duration of
Right.
their quest.
oh yeah, you just can't continue on with them, kind of deal.
Exactly. Just as you can have multiple at the same time during the actual time frame of the quest. So, we will actually see that in multiplayer,
It'd
just
be
not.
cool. All three of them were there at that. What is it, Bastion Keep?
Yeah, that'd be pretty
That
awesome.
that big battle. That'd be cool.
Maybe it'll come out in a special game mode.
So they will travel from town to town with you, like the caravan,
Yeah, they join
Right.
your caravan.
Yeah.
part of the caravan.
And even better, you don't have to worry about leveling them. They always keep track even if they never left town. So
Lazy.
you can switch
Oh, those
between them.
Oh, so the ones you don't use
Right.
level up as well.
And they always keep
Yeah.
the items on them too.
Nice.
If they die or whatever, you switch to a different one. Whatever items you put on them, they'll keep on them until you take them off or switch them. So that's cool too.
Right on.
Extended vault, anyone?
So just a refresh.
Whoops.
A couple of weapons, few
Hold this
rings
for
and
me.
ammo.
Pretty much. Here, hang on to this.
Well, the only exception to that is they said specifically that they wanted the followers to use item slot weapons that were not popular, that most people wouldn't necessarily use as the
Oh,
mainstream.
okay.
So it's like, hey, I found this epic sword. Well, none of them can hold it.
Yeah, it looks like staff, crossbows, and pole arms.
Yeah, or maybe just spear. I don't know if it's a polearm or yeah, whatever it is.
And you encounter them fairly early on, right? I think I read that.
It's all Act
All
1,
Act
yeah.
1. And that's also something I wanted to note. From looking through the video, we see some pretty distinctive landscapes in there. I mean, there's a swampland area and a desert area, and I don't know how to describe it, like English countryside, which we've seen most of. And he said it's all Act 1, so that leads me to believe that each act doesn't correspond to a different zone.
It's not deeply tied to like, oh well, you're right outside
Right.
the monastery. That's where you're going to be for the entirety
Right.
of the act. Yeah, which is good because we're going to see a lot more variation, and it also, it means I don't know, the divisions are probably more story based than just being
Right.
location based. Probably still heavily location based, but
Much more diverse
You know.
in the location.
much more diverse.
Locations.
It won't be the cold plains for the first 5 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be nice just to be in Act 1 and not be like, man, I really need to get to Act 2. I am sick of seeing these
Sick of
green
seeing-
pastures
yeah.
and stone walls and crap I've seen everywhere.
Yep. Along with that, and some of the new screenshots we got, I've been comparing them to old ones, and a bridge one in particular, which we'll be able to see now if you're watching the video. Side by side, it looks like they've updated some of the little details on the bridge, and it looks like the weather, whatever weather is outside or time of day, affects the color scheme that's going on. 'Cause comparing them side by side, the old images we got are rather blue, purplish, dark, rainy, and then the new bridge, screenshot 167, 167. It's got kind of a warmer tone to it, maybe partially in daylight or whatnot. It's got a cool cast over it.
And now this isn't something new that we've seen this before from Blizzard. You see it in World of Warcraft, where they'll create the look of a zone partly through the actual construction and textures of it, but more so through just filters that activate when you enter the area, or when something triggers, like it transitions from day to night, or something like that. And so it's very possible that just random weather effects are going to create a very different look and feel to certain areas, and which means that a lot of these small snippets of gameplay that we've seen and a lot of the screenshots don't really do justice to the areas, because if you sort of look at them and say, it's like, okay, well, it's not really, I don't know, I'm not deeply invested, I'm not really getting involved in what I'm seeing here. Once it's in motion and once you're watching it change over time, it's going to be a lot more lush and just engaging, and you don't really get that out of 3-second gameplay
Right.
snippets.
Definitely.